everybody. Welcome to our favorites.
Our moving favorites.
Our what?
Our moving favorites.
Our favorites are in a castle. And they're howling. That was really... We're watching Howl's Moving Castle.
Hold on. Back it up. You need to start over. We got to do that over again.
This is my top... We have now officially entered my top 3 movies.
Of all time.
All time. Until I think about it again in a year and it changes.
That makes
Mario
sense.
Brothers movie is going to make it to number 1.
80
It's
for
not
Brady
making-
at number 2.
I can tell you they're not making it. Listen.
The Cocaine Bear will be 3rd.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, just because I have fun during a movie doesn't mean it's making my top 10.
Oh, sorry. We're sorry. 80 for Brady will be number 2.
Right, of course.
Emoji Movie. The Emoji Movie's going to be in there.
Yeah.
All that does is self-reference itself the whole time.
Yes, but emojis are different.
Why is it different? Wait, hold on. Why is it different? No, our viewers want to know. They want to know why you. They want to know why you like the exhausting movie.
We're recording this after Mario movie just came out.
And it's exhausting.
The air date for this is going to be so far ahead. No one's going to be thinking about
It's
that
my
anymore.
fault.
What's it feel like to be an agent of chaos?
Oh, it's wonderful.
Oh my gosh. Talk about a sidebar. Bringing it back in. Howl.
Yeah, let's talk about a good animated movie.
Howl. Moving. Castle.
Castle.
And let me tell a story. It's not really that long of a story, but let me just paint you a picture of the first time that I saw this. Jared was there.
I was.
At a place that we used to work, which I'm not going to name, there was a screening of Howl's Moving Castle, and this was the first time I had ever saw it. And it was
Seen it. What?
Dickey's just got that southern drawl.
First time I ever saw it. I've ever seen it.
I'm watching a lot of Yellowstone recently, so it's in my head. The first time I've seen it, thank you, Jared, was on the big screen. And honestly, that is the best way to watch this movie. Because I was watching this, even just on my TV, and all I can remember is seeing this on a big screen and just being in awe. It's drop dead gorgeous. Like, they just don't make movies like this anymore. And it's an absolute tragedy that we don't get this beautiful hand. Like, all of the scenes, like, in the, I don't know what to call this, the flower realm is what I'm going to refer to it. I'm sure there's maybe a better name for it in the book, or if they mention an actual name for it, but I can't remember. So the flower realm, gorgeous. All the shots of, while it's haunting and disturbing, like the shots of the warships, just beautifully animated.
Is it a different realm that they go to,
No,
or just a different part of the world?
It's just a different part of the world.
Okay.
Yeah, but so that's just what I was referring to. But it's just it looks so beautiful. It is one of the. I guess I can't give the movie this much props because it's based off of books, so it's really well written, so they adapt it, so it's not really the writers, but it kind of, I don't know how that all works, but like regardless of who came up with the sort, like at the very end, it is incredibly written. I love how it's very like rounded and it comes back to the beginning. It's like poetic in that nature. I love it. This is sincerely one of my favorite, and this is why it's my top 3 movies of all time. And the other thing I want to mention is I love. This time around, I watched the English dub. I did not watch the original Japanese version, and I love the effort that we have. Christian Bale, Nathan Lane is who does Calcifer.
That's Billy Crystal.
Yep.
It's Billy Crystal. I knew that voice.
You didn't hear Mike? Was it
Wazowski.
But didn't it kind of sound like Nathan Lane a little bit?
No, it sounded like Billy Crystal.
Really?
He even sounded like Mike Wazowski.
Oh, I kind of thought.
Not all the time, but
Nathan Lane's a lot louder.
Yeah.
I love Nathan Lane.
He's. So
Yeah, we'll talk about that
but
later.
it's interesting. So I thought he voiced that, but I know those are the 2 that stand. I can't remember any of the other.
Emily Mortimer is young Sophie. You know Emily Mortimer, right? The only thing that comes to mind off the top of my head is she's in Mary Poppins Returns.
But I haven't seen that, so actually.
As adult Jane. It's the only thing I can think of in the moment. There's a lot more. I'm just not thinking of it right now. And then Grandma Sophie is Gene Simmons. No, not that one. I betcha.
Did I tell you my jaw almost dropped?
I believe we made the same. I made the same joke when we covered this last time, because we did cover this over a year ago.
That's right.
For our favorite Ghibli movies. Yep. And I said, Gene Simmons, not that one. No, with a Jean. She's a classic Hollywood actress.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Because I was about to be like, what?
Josh Hutcherson is Marco.
That's right. I forgot Hutcherson was in this.
Yeah, it's funny because, I mean, he's about my age, so he's like 10 years old when he voiced this. So while his voice has dropped, he hasn't grown an inch since 2004. He's really short. He's really short. And he was in RV, and he was really short in RV.
I love that's the one there's so many movies he's been in.
Well, yeah, when Robin Williams says to him, one day, because he's mad that he's short, one day you're going to be taller than me. I'm like, no, he's not. I looked up their heights. I go, nope. No, he's not.
So funny. Oh, my God. I love that. But okay, I'm trying to think of where to dive in. I guess one thing. Sorry.
Lauren Bacall, I believe, was the Witch of the Waste.
Interesting.
Yep. Perfect.
So I guess one of the things that I've been wanting to say since I watched this, I actually split this up between a couple days, and I just kept thinking, this is why animated movies exist, to tell stories that you just can't tell in live action. Like, I love how you get, like, different shades of, like, young and old Sophie throughout the whole movie. Like, you'll see really old, and you'll see, like, kind of old, but still have, like, old hair but have a young face. You'll see it, like, with all the young face and the young hair. And I like that, like, we get shades of gray between those all the time, depending on who she's talking to and what she's talking about. That is so creative, and I love. And the style for the Wicked Witch of the Waste.
It's not the Wicked Witch of the Waste.
It's just the Witch of the Waste.
They never refer to her as the Wicked Witch of the Waste?
No, it's the Witch of the Waste.
Fair enough. I stand corrected. But, like, the shot I'm thinking of when she, like, gets up the stairs and she's just beaming with sweat, and she's just
when she runs for the chair. It's mine.
It's mine.
That is the weirdest thing in this entire movie is two.
That's the weirdest thing.
It is two old women like sweating and breathing heavy, walking up these stairs for like 5 minutes, and then they get to the top. She could use some help. We are not allowed to assist in this, ma'am. Like every time I see it, like, this is such a weird scene. I love it. It's such a weird scene at the middle of this movie.
I laughed pretty hard when the dog wasn't Howl.
Yeah, the entire time, like the first time I watched this, I'm like, it's definitely Howl.
That's D. Bradley Baker.
Are you serious?
In the English dub, I'm looking at it. He's uncredited. All he had to do is. It's kind of like Motley, you know.
Yeah.
That hurts.
That's really hurt. Yeah.
I cannot do it very well.
That's why they have the voice actor is it being him. D. Bradley. I love D. Oh my God, I'm so happy he's in this. That makes my heart happy.
Yeah, I think, Jake, you had mentioned beforehand, Sophie is voiced by the same voice actor in the Japanese version.
I'm pretty sure I read that. Was that correct?
Yep. Chico Baisho. I'm horrible with pronunciations. That's the best I could do. She voiced both, whereas in the English one, it's two different. Mm-hmm. So I think I remember that.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Also, you mentioned Sophie's hair. I was looking up this real quick. Oh, Sophie's hair. I think it stays white at the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's because he refers to it. He refers to it like the stars.
That's right.
Yeah, I like how at the end it stays that way because it's essentially. Oh my God, that's the other thing. I'm bouncing all over the place because I'm just so excited. So when I was watching this and I the sound effects, 10 out of 10.
Always with Studio Ghibli.
Oh yeah, especially when old Sophie is like getting up and moving, you hear all the bones crack. And I'm like, oh, I feel that spiritually. Every time I get up, it's like, yes, honestly.
Oh, the look and sound of Calcifer eating that slug thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's like everyone knows that feeling of eating something bad, and you're just.
See, they fooled me with that one because when she takes it out of the bag, she says, I don't remember the other witch's name.
It was like a peeping slug or something.
Yeah, but I don't remember the other witch's name. Solomon. Solomon. She takes it and she says, "Do better," and then she throws it in the fire. So I was like, "Oh, she's doing something for the good of them," and then it wasn't.
Nope.
And she's smoking that cigar.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which grossed me out. And that was the way that smoke is just sitting in there.
But I love the way they animated like her she literally changed in size when she's inhaling and exhaling the cigar. Like I just love how you can get like when you use like the over exaggerations to like explain a character, that is using the animation medium perfectly, and it makes me so happy when they do that. Oh, but I'm just gushing about this. What do you guys? Obviously you like this movie, but like, what are your like some of your thoughts or your takeaways? Because like I could keep off like, just going off.
Yeah, this is about the third or fourth time I've seen it. First time was about 8 years ago.
So yeah, the first time was not in the theaters when we saw it.
That was the second or third time.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've seen both dubs. And both English and they're more than that, but both the Japanese and English dubs. And I will almost always say I prefer the original language for movies. The exception are I grew up watching. What? Gatekeeper. Not a gatekeeper. That's honoring the original language in which movies are made.
That's not being.
That's not being a gatekeeper.
You know darn well he gatekeeps about that.
No, that's not.
You know darn well he does.
You should watch movies in their native language, and
because like you were saying, like the only studio that I will give credit to is Ghibli because they do put that much effort into.
Well, the English dubs are usually done by Disney.
Well, yeah, but
for a while now, I think it's G Kids. The point being, the Ghibli dubs are done very well, very respectfully.
It was the other way around.
What?
Because that one was done by G Kids. Howls.
I thought it was Disney.
No.
That was G Kids?
At one point,
well, at least the credits that I watched today said G Kids.
Okay. Again, there's some.
I know you're right though. At some point, Disney does work on it.
Yeah. Then that's one where I grew up watching like Kiki's, where it was the English dub, 'cause that's what they'd show on TV.
Yeah.
So that's like this is the only thing I really can watch the English dub for, but I usually like to see both versions.
Oh yeah.
And this one, I like Howl, Christian Bale's Howl and Billy Crystal's Calcifer better. A lot of people like Calcifer in the Japanese version. I like Billy Crystal's better.
I wish there was a way, really quick, the way that I watch it, I use HBO Max for by the time this comes out. Max. Regardless. I wish there was a way that they could still have on their service the original dub, because for me, it was just the English one.
I'm surprised Disney doesn't have these on Disney Plus, because if Disney does the dubs
they did
now.
For sub. I know like Spirited Away's dub, I believe, was Disney. Kiki's was Disney.
Yeah.
I'm guessing there's just might be like a right, like a specifically distribution.
Yeah, something.
And not like working on the voice. I don't know.
Yeah, well, all Ghibli is as of this moment on HBO Max.
Sorry, Max.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, so there's that. The dubs are usually pretty good though. That's another thing. I thought I saw a feature. I think it was about Spirited Away where they work very hard to make sure they don't lose anything in translation that's too important, because stuff's gonna get lost. But they try to make sure they capture everything they need to, and
they did. Yeah, they really do a good job. It has been since that first time we watched it. How long was that? Was that ago?
2019.
Okay, so about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Now.
So have you seen it since then?
Once or wait, I might have, because like I swear, like for me, it's like every 6 to 8 months I'm like, oh my god, Studio Ghibli exists, and I just want to rewatch like all of them again because they're just that good. And for the longest time, I was trying to find, because I want to own Howls. The longest time I would go into Barnes and Noble or other places just because in a little section of Ghibli movies, and I'll keep looking like they have it. Oh, this doesn't have it. They have it. Oh, they don't have it. And I think it was last year or 2 years ago that I finally found the actual Blu-ray for Howls.
It's always been at Best Buy. I bought a steelbook.
I was gonna say there's a pretty cool looking steelbook.
Yeah, that's what I bought, and it was at Best Buy.
That's fair. 'Cause I always looked at Barnes and Noble.
They almost always have them at Best Buy. Of
I
course,
don't usually go to Best Buy.
Yeah, their section as of right now has been scaled back, way back, but there's still a little section, and I feel like I always see Ghibli movies.
Well, that's the thing. I always see Ghibli movies, but I always look for. I kept looking for Howl because I wanted to own it so bad.
I feel like, of all things, Walmart will have Ghibli movies as well.
That's fair.
I just forget how. That's an interesting choice of a cover for that steelbook. Amazon has it too.
Yeah, that's fair. I just when I was always in there, I just kept looking. But regardless, so yeah, I think I saw this again about a year or two ago.
Isn't that an interesting choice for a cover for that?
Yep, that's the one I have.
Because doesn't the original cover is Howl with all the feathers and the...
No, well, yes.
Yes.
I thought I meant the Steelbook. Steelbook is Howl and Sophie when they're walking on air.
Yeah,
believe it or not.
When he's blonde.
Okay.
Sorry.
What?
I said they're walking on air. Believe it or not.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different posters. I think the original Japanese poster is just the castle, but then there are others that have like Howl as the bird.
Yeah, that's what I think. There's so many like beautiful visual moments that you can just literally frame. Like I could imagine like almost every other just shot in this movie I would frame and put on a wall. It's just that beautiful to me, and I can't think of any other studio that really just has that effect for me that I would like quite literally just put it on a wall for me. So I more props again to the animators that made this.
I had an interesting time with this because I haven't seen this in
15 years.
You might be right.
Ooh.
2006 or 2007.
More than 15
So
years.
almost,
It's like 16 or 17 years.
Yeah.
About 7 years.
I think I watched this right after Nausicaa. No, okay, I'm going to say it. Nausicaa. That's how I pronounce it. That's how I heard it pronounced the first time. It's stuck in my head. I know it's not how you say it, but it was a long time ago. I didn't remember a whole lot of it, sadly.
Well, that can bring us into another conversation because Howl's is very dense.
Yeah.
There is a lot going on, and it gets a little too busy at times.
A little?
There are moments. I think it's before she goes into the flashback after the crash.
Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking like there is so much happening. And then once she goes in, like, okay, I'm starting to track where we are again. It's a movie as we've talked about. It doesn't really do a lot of telling.
No,
You kind of have to figure it out.
That's just a Ghibli thing, though.
And it is.
That's what that they do so well, and I like that you have to think about like it's because like it. I can't. Unfortunately, the first thing that comes to my mind, which is this movie's not even remotely close to it, is like The Shining, where like it gives like.
That's a comparison.
See, but like so like, the way that my brain works is like it just tells it doesn't no it doesn't it shows you all of the information that it wants to like give you, and then it doesn't tell you how to like take it in. It just says this is all the information, do with it as you will. And I like that approach to like filmmaking. I think that's a really
I approve of the comparison between Stanley Kubrick and Studio Ghibli.
like you see, yeah, that's kind of where that's where my mind went.
Kinda, yeah.
It does it's very like I don't know, artsy fartsy sound like I don't want
Artsy farts.
Are you Googling what that means?
I don't want to
No.
diminish it at all, but like I like the idea of like I said of
Dickie, artsy fartsy people like artsy fartsy things.
yeah, I know. But I just like the idea of painting a picture and not telling somebody how to interpret it and just letting them get their own information from it, and that's what this does really well.
Yeah.
Because like everything with the wars going on, like you're talking about, like all that, like there's so much with the wars, with the prince that's missing, with Howl going out in a bird form, like there's.
I had forgotten about the prince thing, so in the Scarecrow spoilers.
Oh,
Turnip head.
spoilers.
What?
Turnip head.
Sorry, Turnip Head. Second movie I watched this week about turnips.
What was the first one?
Continue.
When Turnip Head turned into the prince, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, but I don't remember them saying that this time, so I remember that from like 18 years ago or 17 years ago. Oof.
Yeah, they don't really touch on it too. I think it was maybe like what you would consider like a throwaway line or two.
I think they just needed something for him to be at the end of it because it's so prominent.
Mm-hmm.
So they drop a line at the beginning somewhere. Someone says, I think it's just someone in like the crowd in the town mentions how the war is starting because the prince is missing. And like it's kind of like that excuse that one side blames for the other. Apparently the war is not as much of a focused on point in the books as it is in the movie because Miyazaki was pissed off about the Iraq invasion.
Fair enough, honestly. That makes sense.
Like that's the whole reason why this movie is so like bluntly anti-war.
Yeah.
It's not even subtle.
Oh my god, no!
None of it is subtle.
The whole point of him using magic is to not be in the war. Well, I guess not. Yeah. Him using his magic is just to hide.
Maintain his freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
And he plays against both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Just the end message, just war is hell. Like that is it. Period.
Also, it's interesting how, and I know I'm going to reference one of people's lesser favorite Ghibli movies. How it's interesting how the character designs are similar across, because Howl reminds me very much of the water wizard in Ponyo. I said it right the first time. Wow.
Is that the one that's voiced by Liam Neeson in the English dub? Okay.
Yeah, I can definitely.
It's not the same, obviously, but
but it's similar designs. Yeah, they tend to do that.
Yeah. What was I laughing at? I just laughed at something and I forgot what it was.
how I said Ponyo.
I mean, that might have contributed.
I will always just laugh at just the way that old Sophie walks. It's just like so.
Laughing at old people now, Dickie?
Yeah, come on. Everybody.
As a person who has a hard time walking, I am offended.
Your punishment, you're going to get caned.
Yeah.
That's a real term.
Yeah, I know, but that was the pun.
Yeah, I know. I'm just making sure. It's going to hurt.
Yeah, thank you.
What?
There's something about the way they animate, the way that Studio Ghibli animates like sludge and water that is just like so gross. Because when Howl comes out and is having the freak out because she cleaned his room and his hair is changing, and his body just kind of melts into that sludge, and it's like
also really quickly.
It's when she touches him is the worst.
Yeah,
and
and pulls it back.
Do that again.
It's so visceral.
It is. When you did the yell when he came down the stairs, I'm not gonna lie, that did not sound like Christian Bale at all. When I heard it, I was like, wow.
No, it might have been a different actor entirely.
I think it was him.
You think it was him?
Yeah.
Because like that really like that yell, I'm like, that's hilarious, and it does not.
If I remember the Japanese original dub, Howl is very kind of loud and energetic the whole time. Mm-hmm. And I remember that freak out scene, it's even louder, and I remember it was like, oh, that's right, I forgot that she cleaned up and he used the wrong dye. Mm-hmm. And I just remember thinking like, I remember the Christian Bale scene worked better because he's so held back, and so then when he freaks out, it's such a kind of an abrupt thing. Within the Japanese one, you just kind of go with it. And I remember thinking like, I kind of like how the English dub works in that.
Did they really
regard.
change the Howl character?
No, it's just the performance is different.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just being an American who speaks English. It's just a preference, but I just felt like because he's so kind of calm and collected, or seemingly is, throughout most of this movie, and then all of a sudden one small thing, as much as his hair dyed the wrong color, and he just flips out because he is just so self-conscious. Yeah. And that yell, and we mentioned the voice. I was telling Jake earlier too, when he's the big bird in his room in that one scene, and she goes in to comfort him, and he's talking in the gruff, low voice. I go, that's just Batman. Yeah. That's just the voice he ended up using for Batman, because it was the same year as Batman Begins. He's like, "Don't come in here.
Where's the trigger?
Where's the trigger? Where's it?"
That's not Batman Begins, but
no. You're gonna love me. Look at me. You can't understand him in those. See, that's the other thing about not to go into those movies, but at least the first movie you can kind of understand him. They're like, that's gotta be killing his voice, because by those other two movies, it's. But here it's like two lines. I was like, yeah, it's Batman.
Yeah, it really. But yeah, he enunciates better in this. Like he still has the lower gruff Christian Bale voice, but at least like you can he just enunciates better.
Because he doesn't have to physically act at the same time.
That is true. That's a lot easier when you don't have to actually physical act. Well, it's not. I don't want to say easy.
I imagine with Batman Begins, he was literally holding a dude upside down, suspended over a 2-story drop.
Oh, swear to me!
Swear to me! Yep. Because that's how Christian Bale rolls, putting people in danger and, just whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Did I say Christian Bale? I meant Chris Nolan.
Well, speaking of more vocal performances, I like Emily Mortimer's performance as young Sophie, but there were times when she is in that, like, that self-conscious, I'm not pretty type thing. It's like, that's relatable. Mm-hmm. The first time, I'm like, oh. And then every time I'm not pretty. I go, okay, this is starting to annoy me.
Is she a bit more stiff than the Grandma Sophie performance?
Yeah. But that plays into how much more comfortable she is when she's older, which a lot of people have written about how they like how the movie represents an older woman as like happy and powerful and useful, which is not what movies tend to do.
Some of the wisecracks that she had, like she is hilarious. She has some good.
I love when you're old, you just like to sit and stare at the scenery.
I'm just like, dang, I was preaching.
That's me right now. What are you talking about?
I was gonna say, I'm 27 years old, and I feel like that.
She turns into a 90-year-old lady and likes things better.
Yeah.
It's just that it's just because you think about it's like it's technically still her, but it's kind of like her brain got aged up too.
It is, yeah. And another thing, because like it kind of circles back to like this movie's a lot about beauty as well, and like mixing with age comes beauty. And that's a beautiful message to like tell people that the older you get, the more beautiful you get. And I think that's just really strong. And that's the other thing.
I think we understand some of Dickey's urges.
Ugh.
I don't know the way you were.
What?
I know.
I'm speaking positivity.
The way you get more beautiful, and I saw the look in your eyes.
The wrong message.
I saw that sparkle, man.
That's not the message I'm trying to put out.
Yeah, I saw your eyes.
Wait.
Poor phrasing again.
I didn't even have to do that one.
Yeah.
But I just love that, and I feel like there's, at least now, and I'm gonna sound like a grumpy old man when I say this, but I feel like nowadays they just don't get a lot of movies about positivity and hope. Like, I don't know how,
it's weird. You could say that, but also movies try to be a lot more wholesome now. Movies are not as mean-spirited because they're trying to be more wholesome, but to the point where there's no edge to anything anymore, unless they're trying to be super edgy, and it feels disingenuous.
This just seems so naturally positive and so naturally.
It's optimistic.
It's
about people who like living.
Exactly, and I want to get a sense of that from like the movies and TV shows that we watch nowadays, and I will throw out there, Ted Lasso does a great job of that.
Yep.
That's the only one thing that comes to mind. Like I like the feeling of optimism after you watch something, and this does that perfectly.
Did you cry this time?
I did.
I told
you. At what point?
Yeah.
Just at the end. Just when
it's the music. It's Joe's music. Joe, I don't know how to say your last name, and I feel really bad. Like Joe Hisayashi, which is not. That's his professional name.
Okay.
I'm not gonna try his real name because I'm so bad at pronunciation.
Go look it up on
He
IMDb.
does a lot of the music for Studio Ghibli.
Okay.
And the man has made some of the best scores of all time.
This is hands down. Like, I'm not kidding you when I tell you after I watched this yesterday and today, I'm going to be humming this song for the next month. It is just beautiful.
It's his, in his scores, or at least like the ones I'm thinking of now, it's the piano that is the MVP.
Yeah.
He just has this like layer of sound that the piano floats on top of, and it's so good because my favorite one is we talked about, that same episode as this is Porco Rosso, and that piano theme is so good. And when the other instruments mirror the melodies, they double the melodies of the piano. It's like, this is so good. You easily can tell it's written on piano originally, but his scores are so good.
It carries you, that's what it just makes you feel like. It's so weird, you're obviously in another world. There's magicians, there's wizards, there's warlocks, there's
dogs that fly with their ears.
Literally.
There's dudes that watch old ladies climb upstairs without moving.
But yeah, somehow somehow the music just makes you feel like this is happening in your world, and I just love that. It's just so beautiful. It really is.
Yes.
Yeah. I think if there's.
Yeah.
I'm
just trying. When I talk about the busiest thing, when you get to when they're on the platform and everything's like, all the setups are paying off. Mm-hmm. It is so overwhelming how many things just wrap up. I'm going. I'm okay with this, but oh my gosh, because they do so much building. We're not talking like onward levels of like setup payoff. It's focusing on characters and atmosphere and just scenes where they're literally it's just slice of life stuff outside of the more fantastical elements. But instead of the setup payoff, it's set up, all this character stuff, and then all the payoffs.
It just smacks you over the head, because I think that's the other part that I start to well up with, is when like you see all of them just and it's just.
I know what it is. It's the shot when they're flying, where you see the Witch of the Waste, Markle, and Heen playing in the little yard thing. How do they get grass up or whatever? But magicians. But I was like, that's kind of cool. And then it goes to the shot of Sophie and Howl at the front of the ship, a la Titanic, except their ship doesn't sink, and she chooses not to save them. It just flies by, and they're by each other like this, and Dickey's like,
it's just like,
that's me.
It's beautiful. It's
that's
so beautiful.
Me. Oh yeah, I was like, I think I sat there and said, this is where Dickey cried.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the song's playing. Isn't that when the song's playing too?
It's when it's swelling up.
I had apparently not caught on to the idea that Calcifer was holding together the whole castle. So when they pulled him out of there and he says, wait, make sure I go last. I'm like, why? Oh.
And I also like, because like this time I remembered that Calcifer is the one who has Howl's heart. And the entire time I'm remembering when the Witch of the Waste kept saying, "Oh, that's such a pretty fire."
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like, that's what they're doing. They're building up to that. And I'm like, I love good foreshadowing. Oh, that makes just makes me feel good.
Yeah. What? So I remember the first time I watched this, confused me why they left the castle just to go back into it. So I'm going to lay it out and make sure I got this right. It's Howl set them up in her old, like the house across from her old hat shop or something. Mm-hmm. And he's protecting them from the bombs, but it's hurting him. So she takes them and Calcifer out of the house so that the castle stops connecting to that spot. And then they have him like pick the castle back up so that they can move it and tell Howl they're not in town.
Yeah.
It kind of
was just their way of trying to get away, like just distract the bombs or something like that.
It comes down to he did that so they could hide from everyone.
Yes.
But then, like, instantly they're getting bombed, and it's kind of a, let's set this up, and then 10 minutes later, we're going to rip it apart. Now we got to go back. It is kind of, this kind of feels like plot points in a book that are kind of getting shoved in there real quick. Mm-hmm. That's like the only part where I was like, wait, what's going on again?
Yeah.
Again, they're not telling us, so I'm figuring it out, and I'm going, so he built this, so then we destroy it just to go back here to do the. Oh, okay. I still really like this. This is really good. It's just you start thinking about the logic of it, and it makes sense. But it's kind of because they're not telling you; they're just going. You're like, what is going on?
You have to like mentally catch up with what's actually happening.
And again, this is the third or fourth time I've seen it. I'm still going.
You gotta play catch
up
a
little
bit.
Point. Okay.
Which this does make me really want to, and I didn't know this was more war heavy than the book, but this makes me want to read the book really badly.
I think they are books.
Books?
Plural?
Interesting, because this...
No, it's one.
Okay. Because
it is one. I thought it was more.
And kind of like you were saying, it's a dense, like there's a lot about, like there's a lot of messages, there's a lot of allegories and metaphors, and I feel like reading the book would just be so much more information. I would love to experience it.
I thought I read, was it this one? One of Miyazaki's movies, he jumped on late in pre-production. Like he wasn't going to direct it and then realized something was wrong. So then he took the reins. Can't remember which one. I thought it was this one. Apparently, this is his favorite of his own movies.
Oh, is it really?
He said in a 2013 interview, "I wanted to convey the message that life is worth living, and I don't think that's changed."
I love that. He's still alive, right?
Yes.
Okay.
He is very old.
I was worried. I'm
Didn't
like,
he have a new movie coming out this year?
Yeah, the man is 82. So so if I remember, he retired. We probably mentioned this last time, around like Mononoke or Spirited Away one, and somewhere, and then he like came back for one, and then like Ponyo was allegedly his last one, and then he said Wind Rises was his last one, and then now he's coming back with another movie. And what I've said is the man's probably gonna die in the middle of making a movie, because this movie apparently I'm looking for what it's called. I keep forgetting. How Do You Live?
Okay, that's his new one.
Yep, it's supposed to come out this year in Japan.
Okay, so it'll probably get to the States a little bit later then.
Yeah, so probably end of the year or next year, something like that.
That's still very exciting.
Yeah, but he had a 10-year gap, and it's like he was supposed to be done, and he comes back. It's like he's gonna retire again, and then he's gonna say, "Oh," and he's gonna be like 88, and be like, I want to make another one, and then it's gonna take because it was announced he was gonna make How Do You Live in 2016.
I mean,
it's been 7 years since he said he was coming back.
I mean, you can tell it takes time to make these though. Like the effort.
Well, it's like that, and like he's old, and again he's gonna say, "Oh, I'm gonna make another one," and then he might die partway through it, and we don't want that to happen, but I don't think he's ever gonna fully retire.
And then that's kind of the thing with just the creative field. Like if you say you're done, but then just something sparks your interest, your mind, like, ooh, I have an idea for a movie.
I was gonna say, didn't Robert De Niro say he was done a while ago?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Tarantino was, I know, one of them, and I know for a fact that Tarantino says he's done with 10 movies.
Well, he's been saying that for years. Yeah.
That man's gonna make way more than 10 movies.
There was someone I know you're talking, an older actor who said like I'm done after this. Was it Jim Carrey? After the second Sonic said he was done.
Maybe.
Actually,
it was something like that.
I feel like Robert De Niro said this is my last movie, and then he's got another movie coming out this year.
About my father, right?
Yeah.
Might be out at this point. Probably is out, way out by this point. I don't know.
Out and out of theaters.
Yeah. Just there's something about when time passes, when you're not doing something that you've done or that you love doing, it recharges the batteries. Mm-hmm. So people say they retire and they're real young. So sometimes they find something else, but other times you give it enough time and they feel like doing it again.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
How many times have we stopped doing something because we're getting burned out, and then later, like, I feel like doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
Was Sean Connery in anything after League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
I don't think so.
So he actually stuck with retirement.
I think so. Well, but Jack Nicholson's been retired for a while. Gene Hackman's been retired since Welcome to Mooseport, which is like 2006. So he's been retired for a while. I think he's almost 90. But again, like they find something. They find other things to do in retirement, and they're fine with it.
Yeah,
but I just
and that's just the same vibe this movie gives. It's just like even when you're older, there's still sparks. There's still reasons to keep going, and it's just so it makes me so happy.
Oh, but what I was gonna say, this time watching Howl was for me. This is, I watched another Studio Ghibli movie recently.
You did?
A couple of months ago.
Oh.
That's recently enough.
Okay, I thought like this past week or two, I was like, I don't remember seeing that.
No, a couple of months ago when I was sick, and it.
Well, which one was it?
The Princess Kaguya.
Tale of the Princess Kaguya. Okay.
It's I don't want to call it jarring, but it's just so interesting. All of the different animation styles that can happen within a studio like that. That one in particular, I think, is kind of jarring because Princess Kaguya is very, very storybook comparatively.
Yeah. You watch the English dub?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's the one on HBO Max. Yeah.
Yeah, that one has not to go off, but they have James Caan and Mary Steenburgen as the parents. Funny because they were a married couple in Elf as well.
Yeah. Oh,
But they're playing the main character's parents, human parents, and there's a part where she says something and James Caan in his of course thick New York accent playing a voicing for a Japanese guy goes, "Don't be stupid."
Oh.
and I laugh so hard. I go, that's just
I miss him too.
you don't of course they're not going to do Japanese accents, but
No,
it's
that
just
would be a
that coming out of a Japanese animated character is just, don't be stupid.
I love that.
I miss him too.
Me too.
Oh, that's right. He
Yeah.
did pass away. I forgot.
Yep.
It.
The director of that, because Takahata was the director. That was his last movie before he died. He and Miyazaki were the two big forces for Studio Ghibli, and I think we might have talked about last time. They're supposed to hand off the reins to other directors back in like the 90s, like the guy who made Whisper of the Heart. I'm gonna look up his name now because I always forget it. Yoshifumi Kondo. There we go. Okay, that's what it says. I believe he died after that of cancer. So it's like they tried passing it off to a protege, and I wonder if that just was so heartbreaking. They just never had another protege because the studio is, from what I've heard, has not been doing well. Just because they don't have that big creative mind to take it over.
I was gonna say, I wonder if they're a little bit I wonder if they're a little bit worried that handing it over might result in more Earwig and the Witches.
Yeah, well, that feels like something, because it was a TV movie in Japan, even though it got a theatrical release over here, a brief one. But it felt like, and I could read up on this and it'd be different. It feels like they're trying to adapt to a more modern approach, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
But then you can't just do the same old thing all the time because you're not going to make money, unfortunately, for them at least. When you're not a giant company who has that. But then again, it's not like they're small. But
I know they're not small, but yeah, it's hard. Like, and as well revered as Studio Ghibli films are, like, they're not exactly monetary like Goliaths. Like, they don't like make a lot. I mean, like in Japan, I'm sure they make a lot of money. Overseas, they make a lot of money. But like in the U.S., there's just
they do
not
this
as big
one.
of an audience as you'd hope there would be.
I think this one, Howls, did fairly well in the U.S. Even though
did it?
I'm looking. I think Miyazaki even said like.
I mean, it had a couple of really big names for the time.
That is true. The voice cast was big names. This just doesn't seem like a generic American public kind of movie.
I mean, they all.
You know, but not like the Mario movie.
Generic is a good word for that.
Yeah, generic American public. That's the.
Except for that Mario also came from Japan.
Well.
Not the movie, but
yeah. But yeah, it's so hard because I love movies like this that actually like take the time. Like, I love both. Like, there's times in your life where you want to sit down and watch a really beautifully woven story like this, and there's times where you just want to watch a popcorn movie, and I can appreciate both. But time and time again, I'm gonna want to watch Howl over and over again. As much as you're giving me crap for like the Mario movie, I'm not gonna rewatch that every year. This I'm gonna rewatch every year.
Are you sure? I feel like you get drunk enough to watch it every year, at least once.
That's actually a very valid point. And be with a group of like friends and a bonfire and watch it. But that's a whole other story.
Watch it over a bonfire.
Like at a bonfire, like a TV screen, like in the backyard.
No. We could like burn the DVDs.
There you go.
I was trying to find the U.S. box office on Box Office Mojo, and I'm not finding it. I probably just Google it, but it did very well worldwide. It made $237 million worldwide, so it did well.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, this, it's not a movie for the Gap, the generic American public.
I like how you coined this term, or claim to coin this term because you're part of it.
Oh, absolutely, I'm part of it. Yeah.
Me and Jake are not.
Yes, you are.
No, we're not. We are not the general American public. We're the weirdos.
Well, you're the you know how there's like the whole like graph. Like,
They are called outliers.
that's the one I was looking for. Thank you.
Sheep.
Those are the middle ones in the gap.
Hi.
Bah!
You bad boy.
Or anything else about Howl?
He almost did it. He almost did it.
Anything else about this really incredibly well-made film?
He's beautiful, pretty much in every way.
The movie or Howl?
Yes.
I didn't know if you said it's or he's. I was like, I mean, man, both are true.
He is a beautiful man. He's
Except for notice he becomes soulless when he has red hair.
Hey, I will say the red hair actually looked kind of good on him. Kind of did. I was okay with it.
I'm ruined. And I remember thinking, like, are you a wizard? Can't you just, like, and it's fixed?
He just had to throw a little tantrum really quick. And
It's called insecurity.
I do love that moment where she's helping him up the stairs, and she looks back, and the towel's on the ground, and she just makes us look up. She looks forward, going, I go, okay, that's fine.
Pushing that PG rating there a little bit. That was a good moment. It's just a comfort movie, honestly. I feel like I would just put this on almost any weekend. I just want to feel happy.
It's funny how, like, it is a very popular movie. A lot of people love it. I think there is a following of people that don't like it that much at all.
Can you call that a following, really?
Yeah, because I think there's a whole side of it. It's like that just don't like it. They just,
I mean,
not that they think it's bad. They just go like it tends to be people who compare it to Spirited Away because they came out.
Why is
like
that
2
the
or 3 years
biggest
apart.
one?
Spirited Away?
Yeah.
Because I think
I haven't seen it in a couple years, but it's just when I watch it, I enjoy it. I think it's a connection thing because I don't connect to it like a lot of people do.
I feel like everyone. Was that before or after Howl's Moving Castle?
Before 3 years before,
So I feel like when I was in high school.
everyone freaked out.
Oh my lord!
I remember.
Everyone freaked out. Everyone talked about that. Everybody cosplayed that. Everybody, yes, when I was that young, people were doing cosplays. They weren't as sophisticated as they are now, but
Well, especially if you're doing a no-face one, that's pretty easy. Like there's not a lot behind that one.
everyone's talking like, "Oh my god, Spirited Away is so good!" Like I've seen it once.
It is really.
It's really good.
Yeah,
I have to watch it again.
I
I
just
feel like
don't-
every time I watch it, I don't explode like everyone does.
I don't get the explosion bit of it. That's the like it's good. I'm not gonna be one of the following that hates it.
Yeah. Well, no, not Spirited Away. It's the Howls crowd. That
Well,
That's the thing.
yeah.
I feel like Spirited Away is
Maybe hating it's like a
massive.
strong word. Maybe it's just not. I mean, it's not for everyone. Not everybody likes this style of animation, which is hard to believe.
No, but I think we're talking about the type of people that like that style of animation, but for some reason don't like Howl's itself.
I would just be confused then as to how that works. How you would appreciate this style of animation storytelling and not like this movie.
Again, they compare it to Spirited Away,
yeah.
which I really didn't let you finish your point. So
Yeah, it was just like I feel like there are other people that just go. It's kind of like and it all comes down to it's following such a big thing. It's the follow up that people are harsh on, and then years later you go, no, this is great.
That is fair because it is hard to follow up like a massive success a lot of times. But when you have a completely different movie that goes for something completely different than Spirited Away does, it's
I was gonna say it's not really like a follow up movie.
it's
I
just the
wouldn't
same
call
studio
it. Yeah.
that just put out another movie.
It is like follow up just means the next project for the director.
Mm-hmm.
It is his follow up to Spirited Away, and it's a completely different movie.
Oh yeah.
I think that's what I mean by follow up.
Hmm.
Because again, when you ever have something that big, whatever you make next, if it's not bigger, people look down on it at first. Because then later the dust clears and you go, yeah, this is still great.
Cites the second Demon Slayer movie.
What second Demon Slayer movie?
Right.
There is no second Demon Slayer movie.
It's just a showing of 3 episodes.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. Yeah, I'm looking now. Like Howl's is like 50 something. What was it? 55th on Letterboxd, and Spirited Away is 11th.
Wow.
It's just like these are very
That's so
popular,
interesting.
both very popular.
Big of a gap. I would have expected at least to be a little smaller.
Oh, I'm not looking at the Gap. I'm just like that on the whole site. They're both
that
in the
is
top
true.
100.
Like, I mean, like when you think of Studio Ghibli, like these are like a couple of the big names that you really that stands out.
I think that kind of 10-year period maybe is when Studio Ghibli was like. I don't think they're as big as they used to be, or at least I don't.
No, they're not.
Think I hear about them from general American populace as much as I used to.
Thanks, Ponyo.
Or Secret Life of Arietti.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, they've had good movies.
Secret Life of Arietti was the one after Ponyo, wasn't it? Or was there one in between?
Earthsea somewhere in there. Poppy Hill somewhere in there. I think if we're just talking Miyazaki, it'd be Wind Rises. But there's other movies. I don't remember all the years. Arietti somewhere in there too. That's got to be around like 2010, somewhere in there. It's just they're two creative leads. One has died, and the other one's super old and has been retired for a decade.
Yeah,
and it hasn't really passed the torch.
The last thing I want to see is like a studio powerhouse like them is to fade away, but like it's still leave behind this big of a legacy. I mean, you're still gonna be remembered for forever, but I want more. I want them to keep making more because they're good at stuff.
And for the most part making traditionally drawn animated movies, the 2D, because earwig. But the point is, I want this to exist still.
I know.
Miyazaki's son has directed 3 movies for the studio. He is not a filmmaker. He is a businessman who, I believe, I'm not trying to pick on Goro like the rest of the internet did when Earwig came out because he directed that, but I think he was trying to please Daddy.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with being...
With please Daddy.
That is not where I was going.
That is what Pedro Pascal says.
Poor timing, but I was going to say there's nothing wrong with being a business-minded person in a studio. You need that. To
not
actually,
making the movie,
I was going to say, to make the movies is a little different, but you need that kind of person.
And again, we don't know the personal insights. We don't know them at all. It just from an outsider perspective, it seems like trying to build on that legacy, maybe get closer to his father, and don't know if it's worked or not, of course, but the end product, he is 1 for 3 because Tales from Earthsea is not great. It's fine. And then From Up on Poppy Hill is actually a good little movie.
Okay.
So like one of them is good, and the other 2.
Sometimes it just comes with time, and like this movie says, it comes with age. You get better at things. So
I don't think Earwig is going to age.
No, I'm not saying the movies will, but I'm saying him as a director and a filmmaker. The more time
if he wants
practice,
to continue,
the more time you.
What I do think is interesting, just comparing the studios. If you look at something like, and I know it's kind of comparing apples to oranges, but if you compare Disney to Studio Ghibli,
I was gonna say, don't say Illumination. I swear to God, don't say Illumination.
No, I do not consider them a studio. I'd consider them a crap factory. Anyway, when you compare something like Disney and Studio Ghibli, and like specifically the Disney Renaissance like era, with how beloved it is versus how beloved these are, it's interesting. They're different approaches because no one's tried to make like a live action Spirited Away
that's a very good point.
or like a Nausicaa.
Well, that's right. Go back to like what I said. Like I don't know how long ago. These are movies that you can't tell in live action. These are made for the animated.
See, they
take advantage of that.
But they said that about Life of Pi too, and look what Ang Lee did. And honestly, it's a really great movie. There are things.
Jake, that was a good argument.
There are things that you have to do to push the medium forward that honestly sometimes don't work out and they become trends. Honestly, sometimes they work out beautifully, like Life of Pi. Like I it's still hard to fathom how he made that and made it so well.
Yeah, that's fair.
But and I'm not advocating for someone to try to make a live action Howls or a live action Princess Mononoke.
I would say go for it. Whether I like it or not is still up to how I'm going to feel, but I would say go for it because I don't think it would work, but who knows? Maybe you get the right filmmaker, you get the right talent behind the camera, and they make it work.
Or they make like a stop motion animation one. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just
trying to imagine
person.
like how you would like I said, the shades are great. Like the Sophie's face, like the way that the Witch of the Waste looks, like just the way it's so like those like slug creatures. I guess you can use CGI for that, but
And there was CGI used in Howls. You can see it.
Yeah.
yeah. I'm just saying like
It blends really well.
composited on live action CGI would just be.
Yeah.
It would be hard to do, but at the end of the day, I would say try it, see if it works. I'm not going to say that if I'm going to like it or not because I don't know, but it would be curious to see.
See, as Jared can attest to, it's hard when someone makes one of your favorite animated movies into a live action movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so it's anything else you guys want to mention about Howl's?
Yeah, I was reading like just some recent news as of right now is that Koji Hashino is the chairman, and he has stepped down literally like 2 weeks before we filmed this, right before, like month or two before How Do You Live comes out. So wondering, of course, this will air much later, but just looking at us right now when we record this, like wonder him stepping down, Miyazaki's supposed last movie and all that. They just opened Ghibli Park at the end of 2022.
That's right, they did open that.
So it's like that open. So it's not like they're going away, but it's just I have no idea what the future holds.
Who's going to be the driving force?
And again,
And what's going to be their motivation?
sometimes it's okay to just end on a high note and just have that one collection of movies that you know is going to stand the last of time. And sometimes you want more great movies. It's going to just.
I mean, they're a studio. They're out to make money. They're never going to look at that and say, "This is the era, and we're going to stop." They're going to say, "This is the era for this style of animation. Here's what our plan is going forward." Whether that's the same or whether that's different.
Yeah. Where is Ghibli Park? Is that in Japan? I'm guessing.
I'm guessing.
I mean, that would make sense.
Yeah, I would
Just
love.
like Super Mario Land is there too.
Is that where that is?
I think so. They're building one, and I think they're building one in California or Florida, but I think the one that's open now is in Japan.
Gotcha.
I think. Don't quote me on that.
That's fine.
Funny enough, the author of Howl's Moving Castle, the late Diana Wynne Jones, also wrote the novel for Earwig and the Witch.
Oh, really?
Yep, I did not know that.
It's also funny.
That's interesting.
What'd you say the author's name was?
Diana Wynne Jones.
I was just thinking about it. I don't know like what nationality she is, but it's interesting to think about from another country's perspective, adapting another country's work like we do.
Yeah,
to them. It's just weird.
I like that because like you just get different perspectives. Like it's that's the best thing about art is that you make one thing and then somebody could interpret it and make their own thing based on that, and it's something completely different, but it has the same just soul to it.
Yeah, and I read she loved the movie. She said it's not the book, and that's good. They both exist as separate creative entities, while keeping the whole point of both intact.
I love. I really want. I'm about to go download this book or buy it.
There's 3 books apparently. They only based it off the first one, but there's 3 in the Moving Castle series I just read. So,
I definitely want to go check those out.
Yeah.
All right, on that note, is there anything else you guys want to mention about this movie?
I think I'm good.
I'm good.
Very good.
Right. Thank you for listening to today's discussion on the Howl's Moving Castle, my 3rd favorite movie of all time. Next week, we are moving on to number 2, which I made this list a while ago. I can't.
Oh my gosh, Dickey, this is your top 10.
I know.
Jake and I know what it is.
Yeah.
The thing is, I write it down and then I don't look at it because I don't think about it like every.
Well,
single
also
day.
because it's going to change the next time someone asks him.
Yeah.
Also, not thinking.
Is it the
That's in line.
Is it the Big Sick?
You don't know your own top 10?
I don't know.
That's not even on your list.
Oh, they got bumped off for something else probably. What is my
It's
second?
Raiders of the Lost
It's
Ark.
Raiders! Of course it's Raiders!
Not only are we in the top 10, folks, we're in the top 2 at this point, and he doesn't even know what he put.
Do you remember what your number 1 is?
Yes, I remember.
Okay, so...
Like, the number 1 is obvious. That's Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark next week.
Next week, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
The week after will be his number 1, and we can finally get out of his... we're done with his top 10.
And then we're moving on to mine, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Exciting stuff. So yeah, stay tuned for next week. But until next week's episode, you can follow us on social media. Jared, where can the good people online follow us?
Oh, look. It flew in.
Hey.
Okay. You can follow us or howl us. I tried to fit that into my head.
Please don't say that.
On Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And you can follow or listen to us on Apple, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher.
That.
And here on YouTube, you can watch and like and subscribe and ring our bell and comment. And you can comment and rate us on all those other things and check out our groovy Rootin' Tootin' website.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Like I said, next week we got coming out Raiders of the Lost Ark. We got so much more fun stuff coming out. So stay tuned. From all of us here at All of Slate Media, thank you for listening. We will see you next time.
Howl.